This is entitled Dhritrashtra Quits Home. Text 30. We're asked to discuss text 30 and 31 today. I hope we have time for the other one also, because both are very, very important and they are connected in such a way. So I'll just recite the sloka and the synonyms, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Pating prayantang subalasya putre pativrata chanu jagama sadve himalayang yastadanda praharsam manas binam ibasat samprahara. Again, pating prayantang subalasya putre pativrata chani jagama sadve himalayang yastadanda praharsam manas binam ibasat samprahara. Synonyms, word for word meaning. Patim, her husband. Prayantam, while leaving home. Subalasya, of King Subal. Putri, the worthy daughter. Pativrata, devoted to her husband. Cha, also. Anajug Gama, followed. Shadhi, the chaste. Himalayam, towards the Himalaya mountains. Nyastadanda, one who has accepted the rod of the renounced order. Praharsam, object of delight. Manasvinam, of the great fighters. Like Sat, legitimate. Samprahara, good lashing. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The gentle and chaste Gandhari, who was the daughter of King Shubal of Kandahar or Gandhar, followed her husband. Seeing that he was going to the Himalaya mountains, which are the delight of those who have accepted the staff of the renounced order, like fighters who have accepted a good lashing from the enemy. Purport. So Balini or Gandhari, daughter of King Shubal and wife of King Dhritrashtra, as a wife devoted to her husband. The Vedic civilization especially prepares chaste and devoted wives, of whom Gandhari is one amongst many mentioned in history. Lakshmi Ji, Sita Devi, was also a daughter of a great king, but she followed her husband, Lord Ramachandra, into the forest. Similarly, as a woman, Gandhari could have remained at home or at her father's house. But as a chaste and gentle lady, she followed her husband without consideration. So here, in this part of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the episode whereby just the Battle of Kurukshetra is finished, was fought, and the victorious won, the Pandavas. They killed many kings, and including the 100 sons of King Dhritrashtra, who is himself, he was born blind. Materially he was blind, and spiritually he was blind also, because he favored his sons who were against the Pandavas, trying to cheat the Pandavas of their right heir or right kingdom, the throne. The Pandava is supposed to be the one who's to be crowned as the next emperor, especially King Yudhisthira. But somehow or other, due to their very envious mentality, due to their atrocities, and very, very cruel even against their relatives. That's why the Bhagavad Gita was spoken just prior to the fight or the war between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. So now, after the battle, Vidura arrived. He just came from his pilgrim, his traveling to different parts of India. And he's a very self-realized soul. Now Vidura just came, and it says that when he arrived, it's like as if the family come into their consciousness. It's like from a very long and deep sleeping condition. So yes, Vidura hurried towards everyone, including Maharaj Yudhisthira and Queen Kunti. When they saw him, it's like they have regained consciousness after a long period. That's what it says. So now, Maharaj Yudhisthira is being, he welcomed very much Vidura. And Vidura was very sumptuously fed, according to the previous verses. And he was given sufficient rest, comfortably seated, and also there were talks exchanged between them. So Vidura, especially, he came for a specific purpose, to wake up King Dhritrashtra. His state actually is most beneficial to everyone, but especially towards Dhritrashtra. Now Vidura is, his identity is that he's none other than Yamaraj. Yamaraj, the superintendent of death. And temporarily his post was given, substituted by Aryama. So Vidura, he actually chastised Dhritarashtra. This is what happened here, because Gandhari, knowingly that his, or her, rather her husband, King Dhritarashtra, is about to go. So as an ideal husband, he's leaving everything, or an ideal wife, she wanted to follow her husband. Prabhupada says in one of his lectures that Gandhari, she was the daughter of the king of Afghanistan. In those days it's called Gandhar. It's what we call modern day Afghanistan. So the name Gandhar, then Gandhari. So Gandhari means the daughter of Gandhar country of Afghanistan. And knowingly that she will be married to a blind person, so purposely being chaste and an ideal wife to be, she chose to blindfold herself, to keep her eyes closed like blind by putting a cloth around her eyes. She was saying, my husband would be blind, so although I'm not blind, I must live also as blind. So this is the beginning of austerity for Gandhari. She was very faithful. She gives all the whatever it needs to be being an ideal towards King Dhritarashtra. She was very faithfully serving her husband, that in the end, when Vidura chastises Dhritarashtra, of course she was there while Vidura was chastising Dhritarashtra. He says, please get out of here immediately. Because old age is taking over everyone, practically. Everyone is dying, and especially old age. Before death, there is old age. And King Dhritrashtra has to wake up, from the situation. Because the purpose of human form of life ultimately is meant for self-realization. So there is a time in the Vedic culture that the husband has to prepare for becoming renounced. And that stage is called the retired stage of life, vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means the husband and wife, they travel together, but no more physical contact. The wife will be there just to assist the husband to cultivate more knowledge, in which the husband will learn how to become detached materially. So now Gandhari is there, and she's one of the most chaste, most ideal wife in the history. Another example was given, is like Sita Devi. Sita Devi also followed her husband, Lord Ramachandra, in the forest. So now, we are given here a lesson that wife should be always chaste and should also always follow the husband. A little bit difficult to follow these days, because sometimes the woman or the they think that they have an equal rights to have. But ideally, if the husband is Krishna conscious, the wife should also always follow the husband. The wife is also considered as the better half, and whatever the husband do, especially spiritual activities, then the credits is being shared also to the wife. Continuation of the purport. Instructions for the renounced order of life were imparted to Dhritrashtra by Vidura, and Gandhari was by the side of her husband. So while Vidura is chastising and telling Dhritrashtra, you should cut your attachments now, don't be a fool, you have to go where you'll be able to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So death is approaching you, Kala, because old age is there. And he was saying that everyone dies, no one remains here to be alive. Of course, the soul is eternal, but we have to change our body when our time is up. We have a certain quota of lifespan, and it will not go even 1 second more. It is an illusion, especially those who are rich people. They will tell their doctors, oh, please, doctor, I have not finished my duty yet. I still have to marry my daughter, or my son needs to be educated. I know I'm very sick, but please, I know you can do it. I'll give you as much rupees or dirhams or dollars or pesos that you like. You may want, but let me live another like 2-3 more years. But that is not possible. When we're up, we're supposed to go, and we'll take another form. Either it is material or spiritual if we are thinking of Krishna at the time of death. So, but he did not ask her to follow. He did not ask her to follow him, because he was at that time fully determined like a great warrior who faces all kinds of dangers in the battlefield. So it is quite risky and dangerous, because if the husband will go here in this way, he was prepared to go to the Himalayas. So that's very austere. There's wild animals, and maybe there is not even food available. So he was telling Gandhari not to follow him. So, but somehow or other, Gandhari was determined to be with her husband until the end of his life. He was no longer attracted to so-called wife or relatives, and he decided to start alone. This is King Dhritrashtra. But as a chaste lady, Gandhari decided to follow her husband till the last moment. Maharaj Dhritrashtra accepted the order of Vanaprastha, and at this stage, the wife is allowed to remain as a voluntary servitor. But in the sannyas stage, no wife can stay with her former husband. A sannyasi is considered to be a dead man civilly, and therefore the wife becomes a civil widow without connection with her former husband. Maharaj Dhritarashtra did not deny his faithful wife, and she followed her husband at her own risk. So this is just the preliminary stage whereby ultimately King Dhritarashtra will give up everything in his relation, the relation that he has towards his family members, his friends, his loved ones, anything that is connected to him materially. This is what he called Vanaprastha, the learning, the retired life, but it is like the preparation whereby ultimately at the end of one's life, one should renounce everything, give up all the material attachments. This is the Vedic system whereby one who wish to go back home, back to Godhead, must follow, must do. Of course, in Kali Yuga, sannyas is forbidden. That means those who are also followers in the, what you may say, the Mayavadi, ones who wants to become renounced artificially, but still attached to material things, it is forbidden. Because when one takes sannyas, that means no more material desires. Only one main focus, only to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead 24 hours. Spirit, we should all be sannyasis. Because sannyasis means who are engaged 24 hours in Krishna's. Prabhupada says one time also to his disciples, he used to address them, my dear boys and girls, because spiritual master is like the father. So he's addressing all the disciples that I want you all to become sannyasis. Because sannyasi doesn't mean the change of cloth from white to saffron. Sannyasi means a change of consciousness, change of heart. One should not also take sannyas unless his heart is still not purified. One should only take sannyas if he doesn't have any attraction towards wealth and women, towards opulence and women. This is sannyas. But another meaning of sannyas is that one who is engaged 24 hours in Krishna consciousness. As Prabhupada says here, a sannyas, dead man civilly. That means if he had former wife, then no more connection. If he had family members, no more connection. But that doesn't mean ultimately, because we've seen, myself also, I go see my mother every year, practically, but because of COVID-19 pandemic, not be able to see her for almost 2 years. That doesn't mean no connection, means no more attachment. Because the most binding in this material world is family attachment. That's why we're still here in this material world and keep repeatedly taking birth again and again, is because of family attachment. Our relationship with our family is temporary, but we can help each other to make progress in Krishna consciousness. It's like if you have children, you are not the proprietor. You don't own your children. In the Krishna conscious life as Grihasta, you are meant to deliver them. You are like caretakers for your children so that they will grow up to be an ideal Krishna conscious person, and ultimately also will go back home, back to Godhead. So yes, a sannyasi should be somehow, he doesn't have any more material desires, and his main purpose is only to please Hari Guru and Vaishnava. We cannot artificially and falsely renounce. It is not possible. It comes when we cultivate knowledge and understand the temporary nature of this material world, that this material world actually is not meant for me, and I cannot be by fulfilling my material desires for sense enjoyment. Somehow or other, we have to come one day to that conclusion that this Maya is illusion. Thinking that I can be happy and enjoy with my family, with my friends, with my loved ones. No. We can only enjoy and we can only be happy when we serve, even as family, all together we serve Lord Krishna. When we focus our activities and our consciousness to have Krishna as the center of our life. This is the only way how we can be happy. So Maharaj Dhritrashtra, he did not deny Gandhari to come along with him, because knowingly that she will be able to help him in some other menial services. Continuation of the purport. The sannyasis accept a rod as a sign of the renounced order of life. There are two types of sannyasis: those who follow the Mayavad philosophy, headed by Śrīmad, accept only one rod, ekadanda. But those who follow the Vaishnavite philosophy accept three combined rods, tridanda. The Mayavadi sannyasis are ekadandi swamis, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are known as tridandi swamis, or more distinctly, tridandi goswamis, in order to be distinguished from the Mayavadi philosophers. So here mentions about two types of sannyasis. The Mayavadis, those who propagate the doctrine that everything is illusion, that even bhakti is illusion, Bhagava is illusion, Bhagavan. And to be a devotee of Bhagavan is also illusion, because there is no Bhagavan. So for you to be a devotee is also illusion. And everything that you perform is also illusion. Everything is illusion. But somehow, they have concluded that they also have to renounce this world. But their renunciation is not complete, because they don't use everything for Krishna. This is, we have what you call Yukta Vairagya. Yukta Vairagya means we have these material things, but we use them for Krishna's service. Using everything for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. It's like here, we're talking here to you through Zoom, we use computer, we use microphone, we use camera, but we use everything for Krishna's service. This is Tridandi Goswamis. Swami means controller of these senses or master of the senses. Goswami is also synonymous, the same. Swami or Goswami. So, yeah, the followers of Sankaracharya, Mayavad philosophy, the sannyasis, in their line, they carry one danda, but only one, ekadanda, because everything is one. Ultimately, I am one with Krishna, I am one with Narayan, and then when they become self-realized, they think themselves to become Narayan, or they address themselves, each other as Namo Narayana. But this is not the understanding or the philosophy for those who are followers of Vaishnavism. We know that there are two souls in our body, the spirit soul, Jiva Atma, and the Param Atma. So the sannyas, they have Tridandi, they call Tridandi, but this Tridandi actually is considered, when they carry the staff, there are actually four sticks. 3 for mind, words, and action. And then there's a fourth one, which is the symbolizing the Atma. Atmanivedana, surrendering everything, the mind, the words, the actions, and ultimately the very self, the soul, towards the Supreme Lord, to serve the Supreme Lord. So this is how we are distinguished between the Mayavad sannyasis and ourselves, Tridandi Goswami. Even though Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took sannyas, order of life, from the Mayavad, Prakasananda Sarasvati. But actually, this is to trick the Mayavad so that also they become devotees of the Supreme Lord. Actually, he did not get initiated by the mantra. The sannyas mantra was whispered to the ears of Prakasananda, and then he repeated it to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So ultimately, he did not. He just became the instrument to repeat the mantra, sannyas mantra. The Ekadandi Swamis are mostly fond of the Himalayas. They go to the Himalayas. But the Vaishnava sannyasis are fond of Vrindavan and Puri. It's like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came also to Vrindavan. But even today in Vrindavan, not everyone is a Vaishnava sannyasi. Many here also Mayavad. I remember the first time I came to India, and I took one of those tonga. In those days, there is a tonga. There is the chariot or carrier that's being drawn by horse. So there is this one sannyasi also. It's like tonga pool. It's like you're having a carpool. Modern day carpool. You share the car going to work or somewhere. So here they have Tonga pool also. So there was this one sannyasi, but I didn't know that he was a Mayavad, and he was telling me, who are you worshipping? Who are you worshipping? Don't you know that there is no Krishna? So I was surprised. He was in Vrindavan and he's telling me this. So there are some Mayavad sannyasis even in Vrindavan, but mostly there are many Vaishnava sannyasis here. And same with Jagannath Puri. You go to different places, tirthas, mostly they are Mayavad sannyasis. They renounce family, but they're still keeping their bank account and they're calling their family members practically every day. Hare Krishna. Still attached to wealth and family. It says here, the Vaishnava sannyasis are Narottamas, whereas the Mayavad sannyasis are Dhiras. Maharaj Dhritrashtra was advised to follow the Dhiras because at that stage it was difficult for him to become a Narottama. Narottama means topmost. Narottama, topmost human being, completely detached, renounced, no more attachment towards material things. So, Dhira means the preliminary stage, just like starting to understand the futility and danger of having or keeping or remaining attached to material things, especially family, friends, and so-called loved ones. Next text is a very important text also. Ajata satro kitamaitro hudagnir viprang natva tilagho bhumirukmai griham pravishto gurubhandanaya nacha pasyat pitaro so balimcha. Maharaj Yudhisthira, whose enemy was never born, performed his daily morning duties by praying, offering fire sacrifice to the sun god, and offering obeisances, grains, cows, land, and gold to the brahmanas. He then entered the palace to pay respects to the elderly. However, he could not find his uncles or aunt, the daughter of King Shubhal. Purport. Maharaj Yudhisthira was the most pious king because he personally practiced daily the pious duties for the householders. The householders are required to rise early in the morning, and after bathing, they should offer respects to the deities at home by prayers, by offering fuel in the sacred fire, by giving the brahmanas in charity land, cows, grains, gold, etc., and at last offering to the elderly members due respects and obeisances. One who is not prepared to practice injunctions prescribed in the sastras cannot be a good man simply by book knowledge. So now, early in the morning, Maharaj Yudhisthira, he wanted to pay his respects, he wanted to pay his obeisances towards the elderly, King Dhritrashtra, his uncle Vidura, and also Gandhari. But to his surprise, no one is there. Yes, Dhira, this is the symptom of the Dhira, because they left home without telling anyone. Without telling anyone, because if they tell someone, then there's a chance that they may be also stopped and they may not be able to pursue their plan to give up everything. Nowadays, this is also being followed. Many children, they go, what you call, runaway kids. They fed up with the family, but they left home. They became like homeless. They don't have particular home that they stay, or they will stay in some shelters like Salvation Army. They will give shelter to those who are homeless, but they're still not detached materially. They're still addicted to sense enjoyment. So that is not a dhira. But here, Maharaj Yudhisthira, he was not told that his relatives will be going Vidura, Dhritrashtra, Gandhari. So it was very, very, it was grief-stricken, so to speak. But as it says here, King Yudhishthira is a householder, and he performed the duties of a householder. Even Lord Krishna also, as a king in Dwarka, he performed also his duty as a king and as a householder. You get up early in the morning, just like many of you, if not all of you are doing. You get up Mangal Artik time, 1.5 hours before the sun rises, to perform spiritual activities, because this is the best time, most conducive to perform spiritual activities. Getting up early in the morning, take a bath, go to the temple, or you go to your own temple, you do your puja for your deities, you chant your rounds, you worship Tulsi Devi, chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and read, hear, study the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or other scriptures written by Srila Prabhupada, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so on. And therefore, you prepare yourself ultimately to become detached and renounced someday. Because ultimately, what we're doing ultimately is that we become more attached to Krishna. Becoming detached materially means you have to attach to some body or some person, which ultimately we become more and more attached to the Supreme Lord. Our faith increases every day. Our love towards Krishna also increases every day. And as Yudhishthira Maharaj is doing, he also performed all of these things. He performed sacrifice, giving charities to the Brahmanas. Of course, you may not be able to do it giving charities every day, but you can put something aside every day, then ultimately you can give that to Brahmanas, or Prabhupada says here in the purport, cows. It's like, if you put a certain amount every day for cow seva, then after some time when you come visit the holy Dham, Shri Vrindavan Dham, we have Goshala here. We can help maintain our over 450 cows or so. And this is all prescribed in the Vedas, in the Shastras, to be a good man. To not just be, this is the meaning of being a good man, not just like, the materialists. They also donate, but their donation or the charity that they do is meant only for their own fruitive gain. This is the duty of the Grihastas, to contribute in propagating Krishna consciousness, or to those who help in spreading Krishna consciousness. And Maharaj Yudhishthira is doing this. Modern householders are practiced to different modes of life, namely to rise late and then take bed tea without any sort of cleanliness and without any purificatory practices as mentioned above. Yeah, this is the modern day practice of the householders. They sleep late. For them, 12 midnight is still early. They'll sleep maybe 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and then they'll get up at 7 or 8 or 10. And sometimes they will not even take bath. What to do? Kali Yuga. The household children are taken to practice what the parents practice, and therefore the whole generation glides towards hell. Yes, it is the duty of the parents to protect the children, to give them life whereby they will ultimately get benefit, and so that their next life they will have a higher status or higher consciousness, or ultimately for them to get out of this material world, to be liberated. Yeah, it says that one should not be a teacher, one should not be king, one should not be a parent if he cannot relieve, if he cannot save his subjects towards liberation. Now it's called Varna Sanskar. There's so many children who are suffering because the parents neglect their duties. And therefore, these children glides or go to hell because of the parents being irresponsible. Nothing good can be expected from them unless they associate with sadhus. Yeah, the only remedy, the only hope is that when the sadhus or the saintly personalities bestow causeless mercy upon them, there should be an eagerness for those who wish to make advancement in their spiritual life to associate with sadhus or saintly personalities. Like Dhritrashtra, the materialistic person may take lessons from a sadhu like Vidura and thus be cleansed of the effects of modern life. Bhakti comes from bhakti, but to the devotee. The devotee who has bhakti, they can give bhakti. The bhakti is overflowing in their hearts that they become the medium whereby bhakti is being spread to the conditioned souls. Maharaj Yudhisthira, however, could not find in the palace his two uncles, namely Dhritrashtra and Vidura, along with Gandhari, the daughter of King Shubal. He was anxious to see them and therefore asked Sanjay, the private secretary of Dhritrashtra. Now Sanjay is like the private secretary, he's like the eyes of Dhritrashtra. But Sanjay also was surprised. Even he himself did not get any information about the whereabouts of Dhritrashtra, Vidura, and Gandhari. This is the Dhira stage, living without any notice, even a note where you're going, or don't do that though. You cannot artificially do that and give up this world. If you have responsibilities, you cannot run away from your responsibilities, especially the grihastas. If you're single, maybe you can do it. But grihastas, you cannot run away from your responsibilities. So Sanjay did not get any information also. He was not told by Dhritarashtra that now I'm just going to the Himalayas. Bye-bye, I see you later. No. So Sanjay was also surprised. Okay, we stop here. You have any questions? You have any comments? Anything to add? We could have mentioned more, but time is very constrained here, very limited. Any other points?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, there is a question in the comment box. If you want, I can read on your behalf.
Please.
Maharaj, this is a question from Shayandani Mukherjee Mataji. Dhanvat Pranam Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. When a wife is a Krishna's devotee, but her husband and other family members are non-devotee.
Okay, I can read it. When a wife is a Krishna devotee, but her husband and other family members are not a devotee, what best is recommended for the wife? Continue to be a devotee and try to convince everyone to follow the same. Okay? Don't give up. Set a good example for everyone to follow. Because this is very important. See, Ideally, the husband should be Krishna conscious or strong. If the wife is not strong, ideally the husband should be strong. Ideally, both should be strong, but one of them should be strong. However, if the wife is stronger than the husband, that is very, very good in Krishna consciousness. If the husband is weak spiritually, the wife can lift the husband to become a better Krishna conscious person. Do you understand? Don't give up. Try your best to help them to become Krishna conscious themselves. Is that okay?
Anthony Mataji, is your question been answered?
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Definitely, I'll follow your instructions.
Are you having a problem with your family?
No, Maharaj, it's not. There's no problem. But my husband, he follows a different, this thing, deity, and I am a
Different.
different. Like he believes in Matri Aradhana. We call it in Bengali. We are Bengali. So he's a devotee of Ma Durga. Okay, so
Fine.
now,
So therefore,
yes, Maharaj.
I understand. The best thing is you should all read together. He may be following a different way, or because of the samskars, or he grew up in that. So read Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a unique book of knowledge. So if you all read Bhagavad Gita, somehow everyone will become purified. It will tell there. If you read, you'll be able to understand that Krishna is the supreme and the devatas are subordinate. It's just a matter of purifying one's heart by cultivating knowledge. There should be a certain time. You are the mother, you care, that you all read Bhagavad Gita every day. Do you read?
Yes, I do, Maharaj.
No, you have to read with the family.
No, Maharaj,
Have
my
you heard
mother
of
reads
and
and
saying? Huh?
yes, Maharaj, I read in Hindi and English, and my mother, as a Bengali, she prefers to read in Bengali. So that's why she's also
Okay.
following.
In Bengali Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, in Bengali, my mother prefers to read.
You have to read all of you together. There's a saying, the family that prays together stays together.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay.
Have you ever tried reading all together, like for 10-15 minutes in the whole day? Yes or no?
Yeah, we should. I always try that, but it is not
Okay,
possible to follow.
do it, okay?
Okay.
Do it.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Any other points, Sham?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So that today's verse and the purport was exactly fit for the situation, Maharaj. You are in Vrindavan and you are a sannyasi, so you can let us know the best the lecture on this. I'm very thankful to you, Maharaj, for giving your time and association. So right now Maharaj is in the Vrindavan where Prabhupada left his body. Prabhupada is there with us always. The next room is the Prabhupada where he was spending his last moment. Prabhupada says that Vrindavan is my home, and Janardhan Swami Maharaj is in Vrindavan. So any devotee, wherever they are going to Vrindavan, which is Prabhupada's home, they can meet Maharaj and take the blessings of the Maharaj. And thank you once again, Maharaj, for your time. And I think there are no questions.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj ji.
We have many participants. I want to hear. Did you hear the lecture? I made so many points. I'm sure one of you has at least one doubt that you want to clear up. You all look very intelligent to me based on your pictures.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Ram. Who is that?
Dayal Maharaj.
Dayal, okay?
Maharaj, my question is, the Dhira states that we should have a very firm conviction in not having any materialistic relations or the afflictions with our family members. That is, though we live in the family life, but we should not be drawn to that linkage. So only then it will be possible for us to sever our materialistic afflictions. Is it possible this Dhira, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa, Narottama? Narottama is possible, but whereas Dhira is the starting stage, is it possible to follow that stages, Dhira, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa in Kali Yuga? Because the example of great Yoda Viduraji and the teachings which he gave to Dhritrashtra happened in Dwapar Yuga. So how we can understand and realize the same concept in Kali Yuga, where predominantly it is only Grahastha and who are brought up, generally not brought up in a very firm Krishna conscious environment. So
I
how do we
understand your
develop?
question. I understand. I
Yes.
understand.
So
I
how do we develop
understand.
that Dhira concept in today's Grahastha environment? Thank you, Maharaj.
The purport Srila Prabhupada mentions is that we have to prepare ourselves. This is stage by stage by stage. You cannot artificially immediately say, I renounce. You have to have an understanding the temporary nature of this material world. That ultimately my relationship with my family is temporary, only in this body. But they are there because due to karma, I have to enjoy or suffer the results of my previous life. So this is a stage by stage by stage. You cannot become a Narottam without understanding. This is knowledge. You have to someday understood that this life, material life, actually is an illusion. Material life is there temporarily. So everything in relation to this body is also temporary. But I have given the family, so I should make the best out of my family. Whatever they are, whoever they are, before understanding ultimately. Because ultimately, before you die, you have to give up your attachments. You cannot say, oh, I'm in a Dhira stage, oh, I'm in a Sanya stage, oh, I'm in a... No, these all happen simultaneously. Do you understand? You cannot put okay, up to this is Dhira, up to this is Sanyas, up to this is Narottam. No, this is the evolution of your consciousness. It happens in natural way. Okay? You cannot give up everything without knowledge. You cannot give up anything that you don't really need, that actually there is no use for this. So the Sastras is there. That's why you study the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We don't read the Bhagavatam to give us knowledge whereby it could be useful ultimately for us to become detached. Okay? This is applicable in every time, at all times, to everyone. Because you cannot become renounced. You cannot give up your family immediately. But you must understand the futility of being attached to your family. If you're attached to your family, then there's no way you can renounce. So the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, and other scriptures prepare us for that stage, ultimately when we will become first grade devotee. Do you follow?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj. My point is around that only, Maharaj.
You cannot say, oh, I'm a Dira. You cannot say, I'm a Dira now, then tomorrow I'll be in sannyas, and the next. No, this is like, it's like a cultivation. Okay, what is it that you're saying?
So that is the point, Maharaj. So there, Dhritrashtra was able to live the. I mean, he was convinced. He became a Dhira instantly, and he left his